Hello everyone. Today in this video I'll be talking about data types and Java variables. So variable is basically a container which holds the value while the program is executed. It's a name, or we can say that variables is a name of memory location. There are three types of variables in Java. We have local variables, uh, instant variables, and static variables. Local variables are those variables uh, which are declared inside the body of the method, um, and instant variables are those variables which are declared inside the class but outside the body of method. So that's the difference between local variable and instant variable. Now here we have a static variable. Static variable is basically a variable that is declared as a static, and you can create a single copy of the variable and share it among all the instances of a class. Memory allocation for static variables happens only once, when the class is loaded in the memory, and the value for the static variable remains same for all the method in a class. Now let's talk about data types. Data types is basically that is a collection or a grouping of data values, usually is specified by a set of possible values, a set of allowed operation of these values, and representation of these values is machine type. So there are basically two type of data types. One is primitive and one is non-primitive data type. Primitive data types have a specific size of variables value. Like primitive data types specifies the size of the variables when first created. Primitive type like character type, integer type, boolean type, or a floating point type. And next we have non-primitive data types. These are user-defined data types and are defined, not defined by Java. They are defined by programmers except string. String are defined in Java. So now we have non-primitive data types like string, clauses, interface, array. So these are non-primitive data types we have. Now let's compare primitive and non-primitive data types. What is the difference between these two data types? So primitives are already defined by Java, while non-primitives are defined by programmers except strings. Primitives has always value, while non-primitives cannot have the possibility to not hold any data, or non-primitive can be null. Primitive types start with lowercase, while non-primitive starts with uppercase. The size of primitive data types depends on the data type, while all non-primitive size have non-primitive while all non-primitive data types have same size. So that's the basic difference between primitive and non-primitive data types. Now let's see the basic flowchart of data types. Here we have primitive data types and non-primitive data types. Non-primitive data types we have strings, arrays, classes, or there are other non-primitive data types like interface. In primitive data types we have boolean and numeric. Boolean have boolean values, either true or false, while in numeric we have character type and integral type. And in integral type we have subtype of integral type, which are integers and floating point. And in integer we can have byte data type, or integer type, or short type, or long type. And in floating point we can have double type and float type. We'll talk about these in the Visual Studio, and we'll also define as well as declare them one by one. Now we are here at our Visual Studio code. I have created a file with the name DataTypes, and here's our class. Let's zoom it a little bit. So we have data type class. Here we have local variables. As I told before, local variables are those variables which are declared inside a method. Like we have declared integer type a here inside this local variable method. and character type C inside this method. So local variables are those variables which are declared inside a method. Now next we have instance variable. Instance variables are those variables which are declared inside the class and can be used inside the class. And the main difference between local variables and instance variables is that local variables are declared inside a method, while instance variables are declared outside method and inside a class, and they are used only inside the class. And then we have static variables. Static variables are those variables which are declared inside a class, and they have a special keyword static in the beginning. And what this static means is if we write static with any data type, the value of that variable remains same all over the class. So that's the difference between local variable, instant variable, and static variable. Uh, Now let's talk about data types. Here we have some of the primitive data types like Boolean, which have a default value false. Its size in memory is 1 byte. We take 1 byte of memory. We have character data type. It has 2 byte of size, and byte, which is 1 byte of size. Short type, it takes 2 byte of memory. Integer type, it take 4 byte of memory. Long type, it take 8 byte of memory. Floating point, it take 4 byte of memory. And at last we have double type, which take 8 byte of memory. So these are some of the primitive data types we have. Now let's talk about non-primitive data types. First of all, in non-primitive data types, let's talk about class. Class is basically a collection of member of data members and member functions. And one keep in mind that class is defined by the programmer, so it's a user defined data type programmer. Now let's see an example how we can create how we can write a class and what we can write in the class. Let's suppose we have here public class. Here we have a public class with the name DataType, and here we have data. This is our variables. We can say it data members. These are data members of the class, while this is a member function of the class. Now if we just write it system dot out dot println a, let's suppose we're system. Now here is our method, that member function of the class, and this is these are data members of the class. Well, these are. Now let's remove all this and let's talk about non-primitive data types. So let's say we have two member function, int a is equals to 20, int b is equals to 10, and we have member function void 8, and we have also an integer type int c, and c is equals to a plus b. System dot out dot println c. So this is a user-defined data type class, and its name is data types. It contains member function, data members, and this is member function. Now let's create an instance of an object of this class Now let's create an instance of this class in our main function. So data types object is equals to new data types, and let's call the function object.add. And so this is our primitive non-primitive data type class. And second, let's say we have array. Let's talk about array a little bit. Array is basically a collection of homogeneous variables, right? So we have, let's suppose we have integer type marks of students, which is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is also a user defined, or we can say non-primitive data type. And we have also a string data type, which is basically a collection of characters. Now here we have a string is equals to you or the best programmer. So that's that's all about non-primitive data types. Hope you'll understand this, and that's all for this video. See you in the next lecture. Till then, keep learning and keep improving yourself. Thank you.